Hi, Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to all. I, Muhammad Syariza, and my group partner, which is Danny Ashraf, Kairin, and Fidaus, are going to present about our PBL 1 task, which is vaccination registration system. So first of all, I'm going to explain about the functional requirements. So at this part, we have user. So the requirement is sign up account. User will enter the personal detail. It's a must and a mandatory. User can clear the detail in the text field. It's an optional. The system shall prompt the error message if user not completely enter their details. It's a desirable. So it will automatically pop up one error message if the user not completely enter their personal detail in the text field before submitting the details. Then user will answer 4 questions, include their interest to take the COVID-19 vaccine. It's a mandatory. User will submit their detail. It's a mandatory. So after user sign up their account, they will have a login account. So in this part, user will enter phone number and password. It's a mandatory. So if it match, so user can go to the account. User will enter to login with email. So this is optional. If they don't want to enter with the password and for the phone number, they can enter with the login with the email. So next is user will enter to login the account. So it's a mandatory. So they must press a login button. User can choose forget password is optional. The system shall display the main page is mandatory. So the system must display the main page if the user successfully enter the account with the phone number and password or login with the email. User can change language is optional. This depends to the user if they want to use Bahasa Malaysia or they want to use Bahasa Inggeris. So we put two language here lah. So next is user can enable notification to receive alert on vaccination status. So this is optional. So user can lock out the account, also optional. So for the next requirement is find nearest location. The system shall display location or place for the vaccine. So it's a mandatory. User can choose the location near their house. It's also mandatory. The system shall display map tracking and the selected location is a mandatory. The system shall prompt error message if no internet connection is a desirable. The system shall prompt error message if no GPS detected is a desirable. User will write and choose location for vaccination place is a mandatory. So next requirement for user is make an appointment. User can select available date and time for the vaccine. We put it as a mandatory. User can reset or clear the date and time is optional. User can choose 24-hour or 12-hour system is optional. The system shall prompt the error message if user not completely set the date and time is desirable. System check validity of selected date and time is mandatory. System will save date and time is a mandatory. So for the next requirement for user is rescheduling the appointment. User can reschedule their vaccine appointment by select the reschedule appointment button. It's a mandatory. The appointment calendar appear on the screen. User now can view the available dates and slot before cancelling the current appointment. It's a mandatory. User can select the date and time that's still available. We put it as an optional. User can select back button to keep current appointment. It's also an optional. System will save and updated the date and slot time. So it's a mandatory. The system shall prompt the successful message, which is your appointment has been scheduled. It's a desirable. Now is update the status for user. User can update health status. The priority is mandatory. User can edit personal detail if and they enter the wrong details. So it's optional. User will answer 6 questions. It's a mandatory. User will submit the answer for the 6 questions. So it's a mandatory. They must press the submit button. System shall save answer. So it's a mandatory. So the system must save the answer in the database. The system shall prompt the successful message. Thank you for your response. So this is desirable. It will automatically pop up one message which is thank you for your response. Next is user can click OK button. So it's a mandatory. So for all the detail that they fill up in the text field, they must press the OK button, then the system will save in the database. Then for the next functional requirement, we have admin. In admin part, they have a power to check the information of the user. Admin can request to view all the active account from the system. Priority is mandatory. System shall display all active account is mandatory. The system must display the active account. If no, the system is have some trouble. So next is admin can delete the account if no response. It's optional. So in this part, admin have a power to delete the user account if the request asked by the admin to view the active account are not responded by the user. Next is system shall delete selected account. It's mandatory. Admin can request to check status for confirmation of vaccination. It's a mandatory. System shall display status for confirmation of vaccination. It's a mandatory. Admin can request to view all the database of people who has been vaccinated. It's a desirable. So in this part, it must automatically show the database of the people that have vaccinated to the admin. System will display all of the database of people who has been vaccinated. It's a mandatory. Then for the next requirement for admin is they can manage the facts. So in this part, admin can create facts. So the priority is mandatory. Admin can edit the question and answer. It's optional. System shall display facts to user. It's a mandatory. So in this part, admin have a power to manage the facts, which is they can have a question and answer session created by the admin that must be answered by the user as the priority of mandatory. So next we have non-functional requirements. So in this part we have admin. The requirement description is the reliability issue. The system must load within 1 minute. It's a mandatory. The system will automatically connect to the internet and global positioning system if both are turned on. It's mandatory. The vaccine registration process must finish within 24 hours. So data is available during the next day. So it's a mandatory. So in this non-functional requirement, we can see that the system must have a faster submitting time so that the user can see their data on the next day. So as we can see here, security issue is a part of a non-functional requirement. User must change the initial assigned login password immediately after the first successful login. Moreover, the initial should never be reused. The software must ensure the integrity of the customer account information. So for both of these, the priority is mandatory.
My name is Muhammad Karim, matric number 275494. Now I will continue to explain our use case diagram for COVID-19 vaccine registration system. Basically, we have two main actors, which is user and admin. And we also have 8 use case mapping based on our main functional requirement. First of all, for this system, user can sign up account, user can log in account, user can find nearest location, user can make an appointment, user can reschedule an appointment, and last, user can update status. So here we can see for sign up account use case, we have sub use case which is clear the detail. This means that if the user want to sign up the account, they have an option to choose to clear the detail. For example, like if the user key in the wrong detail, so they have an option to choose to clear the detail. Second, login account use case also have use case sub use case, which is forget password. For this, when the user want to log in account, they have an alternative option to choose to get back their password. And for admin can check information and admin can manage FAQ. For manage FAQ use case also have sub use case which is verify account. This means that if admin want to manage or doing something in this system, admin must verify their account first before they can manage FAQ or doing something else. So this is what we call include relationship. Admin must do something else first before they can do in this system. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Next is the use case specification. We choose find the nearest location. 3.1 brief description. First, the use case will be initiated by the user, and it will enable user to choose location for vaccination. Next is the precondition. The precondition for this use case is user must be connected to internet and GPS. If user do not connected to the internet and GPS, the system will display error message to the user. 3.3 is characteristics of activation. User must double tap onto the icon to choose the location of vaccination. 3.4 is flow events. For the basic flow, firstly, system shall display the location or place for vaccination to the user, and then user will choose the location near their house. When user have chosen the location, the system will display map tracking and the selected location. If there is no internet or GPS connection, the flow will go to app session flow 3.4.3. And if internet and GPS is connected, user will type in and choose location for the vaccination venue, and user will click OK button. After user click the OK button, system will save the data. For alternative flow, it is not applicable for this use case. Next is the accession flow. There are two accession flow for this use case. That is E1, no internet connection, and E2, no GPS detected. For E1, if there is no internet connection, system will display error message to the user, and user shall connect to Wi-Fi or mobile data through their settings. User have to enable the internet connection to continue. For E2, no GPS detected. If there is no GPS detected, system will display error message to the user, and user will click on settings on their phone, or click cancel, and user have to turn on location service. The post condition for this use case is user managed to find or view desired vaccination location. The rule for this use case is user must turn on the internet connection and GPS. Constraints for this use case diagram is not applicable.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning, evening, afternoon to everyone. Okay, so my name is Daniel Ashraf bin Abdul Rahman, metric number 2753112. So today I am going to be presenting my part, which is the activity diagram. Okay, so activity diagram is basically an advanced version of a flowchart. Okay, so for our example today, we will be using the find nearest location for vaccination activity diagram. So first of all, the system will start off by displaying location for vaccination. Okay, so after the system has displayed the location for vaccination, the user shall need to enter their home address. From there, system will then display the map tracking within home address. Okay, after displaying the map tracking, uh, the system will then see or check if the user have their GPS on or not. If the user have their GPS off, the system will direct the user using the display error message and end the system. Okay, that will happen if the user have their GPS off. But if the user have their GPS on, then the system will then check to see if the user have their internet on or off. So if the user have their internet on as well, the user shall then need to choose location for the vaccination place, and the system will then end. Okay, but if the user have their GPS on but have their internet off, okay, so the system will then display an error message and will end the system. So this is actually what you call it's like an option or a choice here. Okay, so that is all from me. Thank you.